Hi everyone, and welcome to our Snr Subject Options presentation for 2021-22. This presentation will cover a lot of ground in the next 30 minutes, so I invite you to buckle up and we'll try to cover all you need to know to make the right subject choice for you. At this stage, many of you will have favourite subject areas and you might even have some career ideas. Choosing the right balance of subjects now will maximise your future options. Firstly, focus on the subjects that you are good at or that you enjoy. And secondly, spend some time considering what subjects you will need to get into the courses you want most. So let's begin by looking at the core subjects for Leaving Cert. So what are the mandatory or core Leaving Cert subjects? These are the must-do subjects for Leaving Cert. They include Irish, English, Maths and a foreign language. We'll talk later in the presentation about how these core subjects are essential for entry into most colleges, as well as looking at why it's so important to include a foreign language among your subject choices. So begin with the question, where can I find help to pick out my other three subjects? A good start would be to print out and study your recent My Aptitude, My Career Choices report. You might want to make an appointment with a guidance counsellor, either myself or Miss Meehan on Teams, and your own research. Look at Qualifax and Careers Portal and individual college websites, as they are an invaluable source of information. So how do I choose the other three subjects? Well, firstly, choose subjects that you've enjoyed to date and in which you've achieved good results. Be sure to consider your junior cert results as well as your recent aptitude test reports. Interest. Ask yourself, what are my favourite subjects? Necessity. Don't get locked into specific careers to the exclusion of all else. For example, it isn't always necessary to take business for Leaving Cert in order to study business-related courses at third level. However, if you like those subject areas and are considering a career that links with them, then why not choose them? Finally, usefulness. Are those subjects that you are choosing compatible with your goals? It can be helpful to assign subjects to distinct groupings, such as the languages, math science subjects, social-based subjects, practical subjects, and business subjects. Let's start with business. The business group includes accounting, business, and LCVP, the Leaving Cert Vocational Programme. Looking at accounting, it's concerned with figures, computations, statistics relating to business, so if you have a strong leaning towards numeracy, if you're interested in careers in the financial and insurance sectors, quantity surveying, auctioneering and accountancy itself, then this might be the subject for you to consider. We'll be talking in more detail about LCVP later in the presentation. And finally, business, both the setting up and the processes involved in running a business, looking at areas like taxation, human resources, marketing, ethics, international business, and so on. College courses include the areas of commerce, marketing, and management. So let's consider the science grouping. Junior Cert Science becomes subdivided into 4 Leaving Cert subjects, and these 4 are as follows: chemistry, biology, physics, and agricultural science. These are sometimes called the lab sciences or the laboratory sciences. And choosing the right one is important. Most students don't know at this stage what they want to do, but insofar as you might have some general notion, it's important to pick the right science subject for the relevant career that you want to choose. So why study agricultural science? Well, it often attracts students from farming backgrounds who already have had the practical experience, or anyone thinking about a future in agriculture. There is an overlap with geography, soils, rock type, landforms, and it also overlaps with biology in the areas of biodiversity, microbiology, plant and animal physiology, and genetics. The assessment: 75% of the marks go to the final exam and 25% for the investigative study. The skills for Ag Science include independent learning, research, folder preparation, oral presentation, and so on. And jobs in agribusiness, food production, advisory bodies, the Department of Agriculture and Veterinary Nursing are also related to ag science. So why study biology? Well, biology is the study of life in all its forms, looking at the diversity and interrelationships of organisms in their environments. It's very wide-ranging, with a focus from cell structure to genetics and everything in between. It requires a good memory. There are lots of definitions to remember, 23 experiments, an ecology study and a field trip. The careers coming from biology are many: medicine, nursing, radiography, veterinary, physio, med lab sciences, forensic and health sciences. And in terms of assessment, biology is marked on a 100% terminal examination. So let's take a quick tour of chemistry. Chemistry is the study of matter and the chemical reactions between substances. There's a strong theoretical emphasis here. 70% of the focus is on pure chemistry and 30% on the social or applied aspects. There are skills involved in chemistry. It requires an aptitude for maths, problem solving, analytical thinking, verbal communication skills and experimentation. Lots of jobs in the vast pharmacy sector, medicine, veterinary and biochemical, dietetics, nursing and engineering, just to name some of the many emerging careers from the chemistry sector. Again, the assessment here is 100% terminal exam. And lastly, to physics in this section. Physics studies the nature and properties of matter and energy, exploring mechanics, heat, light and other radiation, sound, electricity, magnetism and the structure of atoms. The laws of physics are basic to all forms of technology, so this is a really important branch of science. It requires an aptitude for maths, logical reasoning, analytical, complex and abstract thinking. There's a close relationship between physics and engineering in all its forms. And the assessment is 100% again terminal examination. Jobs coming from physics include engineering, radiography, maths and computer related sciences, all the STEM careers really. Turning now to the maths science grouping, it's important to note that higher level maths carries the possibility of 25 bonus points. But these points are well earned and definitely require an aptitude for maths and a willingness to put in the work. So let's explore applied maths and computer science, which, as shown here, are often linked to the lab sciences that we've just covered. So why study applied maths? Well, it's a mix of theoretical mechanics and maths physics. It focuses on finding maths solutions to practical problems. It's less theoretical than pure maths, and it's useful for chemistry, engineering, medicine and physics. It's relevant to a wide range of careers in the above sectors. And in terms of assessment, 80% of the marks go to the final exam and 20% to a project. Why study computer science? Computer science involves computational thinking, program analysis, programming languages, algorithm, data and app design, and involves a lot of skills. There's a strong emphasis on problem solving, flexible, solution-based critical thinking. Careers are many: software application, systems developer or analyst. Many of the careers in this area are not yet known, but it's estimated that jobs growth will be at 12% by 2024. Just a word of caution: college courses that require a science subject may not always recognise computer science as a science subject per se. Assessment: 70% of the marks go to the final exam and 30% to a practical project. Here's a list of courses for which you will need a science subject. If you're interested in any of these courses, then you must choose a science subject. In some cases, the particular subject is specified. Courses that require a science subject include engineering, medical courses, and courses that specify a laboratory science subject. Health science courses such as medical laboratory science, pharmacy, physiotherapy, radiography, human nutrition and dietetics all require a science subject. You could pursue a course in engineering, science or electronics at an institute of technology without a science subject or in a technical university, but it's important to check with the college if you would be at a disadvantage without a science subject at Leaving Cert level. If a career in medicine or nursing is high on your list, then you should think in terms of biology and/or chemistry. 2 science subjects, for instance, are required for medicine and dentistry in Trinity College Dublin. and it's preferable in undergraduate medicine. Those who aspire to study medicine but who don't have the required level of science usually end up studying in a 6-year degree. So let's take a look at the social humanities grouping. These subjects include geography, history, home economics, physical education, and also it's important to remember that SPHE and CSPE are not examination subjects for Leaving Cert. So why study geography? Well, geography develops a critical perspective of the ever-changing relationship between the physical and the human landscapes. Geography skills are applied to local, national and international scenarios ranging from climate change, migration to urbanization. It would provide commentary on the tragic situation as it unfolds in Eastern Europe at the moment. In terms of assessment, 80% of the marks go to the terminal exam and 20% are assigned to the field study, which is submitted before the Leaving Cert exams. In terms of careers, geographers become surveyors, environmental officers, town planners, geologists, cartographers, just to name a few. So why study history? Well, history analyses the surviving evidence of our human past. The focus here for Leaving Cert is on modern Ireland, Europe and the wider world from 1870 to 1970. Skills in history include critical thinking, independent learning and editing, logical argumentation and research skills, all very important skills in interpreting what's going on in the world even as we speak. History offers a foundation for politics, economics, philosophy and religion. The assessment research project is 20% of the total marks and the terminal examination counts for 80% of the total marks. So why might you want to study home economics? Home economics is focused on life management skills, personal, professional and educational. It teaches students how to manage resources, material and human, so as to meet the needs of the modern individual or family. The skills include self-development and self-organisation, which are hugely important, and the careers arising out of home economics include catering and management careers relating to teaching, food science, physiology, textiles and design. Why study physical education? Well, PE was recently introduced as a Leaving Cert exam subject and was piloted at Moat Community School. It's suited to students with a keen interest in sports, but also in the theory behind exercise and sports nutrition. The assessment, the final exam counts for 50%, the performance assessment counts for 30%. Students select one of 3 physical activities from which they produce an 8-minute video demonstrating theory in practice. The activity project counts for 20% and results in a 4-minute video demonstrating skills development over time. The skills for PE include analytical skills, becoming a self-directed and reflective performer, and careers in sports sciences, nutrition, physical therapy and PE teaching are but a few of the possibilities. Turning our attention now to the practical grouping, we're looking at 3 subjects. We're looking at engineering, construction studies, design and communication graphics, or DCG. And I suppose the important thing to say about these subjects is that they are suited to the hands-on learner, the student who prefers to engage physically with the learning task. A brief overview of engineering. Engineering for Leaving Cert involves workshop processes, materials and technology that are used in mechanical engineering. It's a project-driven subject. Skills are developed through preparation, planning and realization of technological projects. Careers arising from engineering include mechanical, structural, civil engineering careers, industrial design and manufacturing. Apprenticeships, of course, such as mechanics, panel beaters, welders, plumbers, all coming out of this background. The assessment. The exams account for 50% of the marks, the project for 25% of the marks and the practical assessment for 25% of the marks also. Like engineering, construction studies is very much project driven. It provides the knowledge and skills associated with construction technology, materials and practices to industry standard. It's a mix of theory and integrated practical projects. where the focus is on the built environment and sustainability. And there's a wide range of practical transferable skills much sought after at the moment. There's a very fast growing labour demand in this sector. And the careers can be found right across the skilled trades, machinists, surveyors, etc. Just to note there on the assessment that there are slight differences between higher level and ordinary level in the breakdown of marks between the exam, the practical and the project aspects. Turning our attention to design and communication graphics, often abbreviated as DCG, this subject is very much suited to the visual learner. It involves cognitive and practical skills development, such as creative problem solving in both 2 dimensions and 3 dimensions. The assessment, the written examination, accounts for 60% of the marks and the project is 40%. Careers arising out of DCG include architecture, civil engineering, product design, town planning and model making, just to name a few. There is of course one final subject grouping, and if you're a natural artist or musician, you won't need much persuading to seriously consider these subjects. They are of course art and music. So why study art? Well, art as a subject combines a student's practical artistic skills with an appreciation of the history and development of art over the centuries. Art is suited to the visual learner with a strong emphasis on developing practical skills. And this is reflected in the new marking scheme for Leaving Cert, which reflects this emphasis in the allocation of marks for each of its 3 sections. From this year onward, practical coursework will be assigned 50% of the marks, the practical exam 20% of the marks, and the written exam 30% of the marks. All of the practical coursework will be covered within class time. And careers in art span architecture, fine art, publishing, product design and innovation, film, theatre, media, psychotherapy and advertising, just to name a few. So why study music? Well, music develops the student in 3 major skill sets: performance, composition and listening. It attracts students with an interest in music in all its forms. And skills include teamwork, attention to detail, communication and music literacy. In the assessment, 50% of the marks go to the written exam and up to 50% from the student's own particular talent. Careers include that of a professional musician, teaching music, music production, technology, music therapy and so on. I mentioned earlier that we'd return to talk about LCVP in a bit more detail. The Leaving Cert vocational programme is designed to give a vocational dimension to the Leaving Cert. It cushions against the terminal exam focus. So students have the option to count this as a unique subject to bolster their points. The portfolio, most of which is out of the way by the end of 5th year, counts for 60% and the written exam 40%. The written exam takes place in May, so everything is finished by the June exams. That's the big advantage of LCVP, is that students already have a subject banked by the time the Leaving Cert exams come round in June. It's a 2-year senior cycle programme in which students do a CV, a career investigation, that's the link with us in guidance, and summary report along with an enterprise or action plan and work experience, and those are the links with business. There are a number of requirements that students must meet to be eligible to take LCVP, and we'll talk about those in the next slide. But just look at the points that are available. A distinction will get you 66 points, a merit 46 points, and a pass 28 points. So looking at the LCVP requirements, the first is a minimum of 6 Leaving Cert subjects at higher, ordinary or foundation level, including Irish of course. The second, a modern European language other than Irish or English. For most students that's French and Spanish, or Spanish. They must study 2 additional link modules, preparation for the world of work and enterprise education, and they must study 1 of the vocational subject groupings. These are groups of Leaving Cert subjects which link together naturally. Let's consider language grouping. Irish is required for many university subjects, and in some cases courses are conducted as Gaeilge. English is often a specific course requirement for many university courses. French and Spanish are often referred to as modern or third languages when considering minimum entry requirements. Modern or third languages all share a common syllabus. Students gain a critical awareness of how meaning is conveyed in the structures and vocabulary of the language, as well as a cultural awareness around it. Language skills involve the discipline and repetition of learning a language and its structures, a capacity for multitasking, thinking in one language, speaking in another. Students showing aptitude for languages are encouraged to continue them to senior cycle right to Leaving Cert. Just looking at the assessment breakdown there, note some slight differences between higher level and ordinary level at the oral and orals. Not to labour the point, most NUI based courses, that's NUI Galway, Maynooth University, UCC, UCD, RCSI, NCAD, they all require a minimum of 06 in a third language. General exceptions can be found in some of the STEM courses, science and engineering for example. TCD accepts Irish as a second language, UL and DCU plus all the ITs do not require a third language for entry purposes to most of their courses. Maynooth has dropped its third language requirement for finance, business, accounting and law degree programs. However, this third language requirement is needed to access such areas through the arts. And that's why, in this regard, research is essential for every single course that students investigate. It's really important. So having looked at the subject groupings, it's important to take a moment to consider what it is not advisable to do when picking your Leaving Cert subjects. So we recommend against choosing a subject at senior cycle that one has not studied at junior cycle. We recommend against choosing a subject because all my friends are doing it. We recommend against choosing a subject because some think it to be a DOS subject. Important to note too that the non-exam senior cycle subjects that will appear in your timetable include religion, guidance and counselling with myself and Miss Meehan, and non-exam PE. Let's take a moment to examine the relationship or connection between subject choice and college entry requirements. In order to do so, we need to pay attention to 3 steps. The first is minimum entry requirements, or MERs, sometimes called matriculation requirements. These refer to the baseline requirements for entry into a university or a college, and each of the HEIs, that's the higher education institutes, have their own set of MERs. Once they're cleared, we can talk about the second step, specific course requirements, or SCRs. These refer to the grades required in particular subjects to gain entry into individual courses. That's why they're sometimes called faculty requirements. And thirdly, restricted courses refers to a smaller group of courses into which alternative assessments for entry are required. For instance, entry into the course may require an aptitude test or an interview, portfolios or auditions referring to artistic and drama courses, and they carry their own deadline of February 1st in the CAO calendar. In this slide, you'll see why it's so important to understand those 3 steps, because before you consider points, you must first think about minimum entry requirements, specific course requirements, and whether or not the course you choose is restricted or unrestricted. Only after these conditions are satisfied may you consider points. Very often students and sometimes parents get fixated by points, only thinking about the points. But I want you to notice where they come in the pecking order when it comes to CAO. Only after MERs, SCRs, and whether or not the course is considered restricted do points come into play. So bear that in mind. Only when these steps are satisfied is an applicant deemed to be eligible for the course. To give an example of MERs, we're going to look at the National University of Ireland minimum entry requirements. So the NUI MERs are as follows. 6 subjects are required, English, Irish and a third language, and a minimum of a H5 in 2 subjects and a H7 or an 06 in 4 subjects. So which students are affected by NUI matriculation regulations? Well, the big 4 are mentioned here in this slide: UCD, UCC, NUI Galway and Maynooth University. However, the recognised colleges of NUI also include a number of affiliates, such as the Royal College of Surgeons of Ireland, the RCSI, the National College of Art and Design, NCAD, the Shannon College of Hotel Management and St Angela's College Sligo, those listed here in the slide. So taking UCD as an example, let's compare minimum entry requirements, MERs, in the left column with specific course requirements, SCRs, in the right column. We can see under MERs that UCD, which remember is part of the NUI grouping, requires a pass in 6 subjects with at least 2 H5s, also a pass in Irish, English, a third language, maths and a science subject. SCRs in the right column show that engineering carries a H4 requirement in maths and a H6 in a lab science. Veterinary medicine requires a H5 in chemistry and French with law requires a H3 in French. And finally, let's have a quick look at examples of specific course requirements. Most engineering university courses require a H4 in maths, primary teaching courses a H4 in Irish, post-primary teaching language courses in DCU require a H3 for their modern languages, veterinary, dentistry, dietetics and some medicine courses require chemistry. Theoretical physics and TCD look for a H3 in physics and a H3 in maths. And we encourage students to always check out these specific course requirements for each of the choices they make for CAO in the college websites and also in Qualifax and Careers Portal. So we've come to the end of our presentation. Many thanks for watching and listening. I hope you found it useful. So we'd encourage you to use the resources available to you to make the best possible choices for your subject choice. Print out that study, My Aptitude AirQuest report. Don't hesitate to be in touch with either myself or Miss Meehan if you have any questions, and also to consult the websites that I've mentioned. Our emails are on screen. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, be in touch. Again, many thanks and best of luck with your subject choice decisions.